Hello everyone, great to have you on the channel here of MeteoMark Weather. We have so much to talk about here. The tropics are going to really start to take off like a rocket here. I am becoming very concerned about the MDR here up through the northern Caribbean islands. We have a big tropical wave that we're going to watch here over the next several days, and this could really develop into something later this weekend into early next week. And we have a lot of weather to talk about, everything from the tropics all the way through your Labor Day weekend and beyond. Let's get into it. All right, so we're starting with the European model, and then we'll transition over to the GFS. This is the area we have outlined by the National Hurricane Center. And if we just take a look at what we're looking at here, this is the area that we're going to be watching. So I know a day or two ago, both the European and the GFS model were showing a major hurricane. However, today things have changed a little bit. The same story is kind of being told as to what type of system this would be. However, it's backed off a bit on the intensity, which is some good news. So as we head through the 29th into the 30th, what we're looking at here is very robust tropical wave action. So here it is off the Cape Verde Islands. We're looking at our tropical disturbance here, as well as this across the northwestern Caribbean and Gulf. We're looking at a potential tropical wave action here as well. As we continue into the 30th, into the 31st, you can see our system staying a little bit weaker here. Definitely much weaker here on this run of the European model. We're just watching these tropical waves line up, and then as we head through the 31st here, it still looks like this system, whatever it becomes, is going to head towards the Lesser Antilles as we head through September 1st here. You see a lot of moisture at this junction from Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up towards all through the Lesser Antilles here, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and eventually the Dominican Republic here. So as we continue to put this into motion, you can see our system showing up. It's really starting to try to develop here towards the 2nd to the 3rd. You can see this big ball of moisture here, so it's moving right through the islands, just east of Puerto Rico by this time. And we have this big tropical wave action out here, a much bigger wave. This has an even bigger chance of developing. And look at our moisture surge right up here into Texas, Louisiana, Florida. I'm going to talk more about this later on in this video segment, so stay tuned for that. And look at this, as we head into the 3rd, this really does start to take effect here. European keeping this further to the south and weaker. One of the reasons we can see this dual high pressure system up here to the north. That's going to keep our system on this westerly and west-northwesterly fashion. And we got this massive wave behind it, as I said before. And then right out over Central Africa, you can really start to see some of these waves. This is where all our wave action comes from. And let's just put this into motion. The last couple frames here. You can see it heading right towards Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic around the 3rd and the 4th. And look what's happening here. This wave out here is really starting to develop. We have our big tropical, whatever it is by this point, and we have tremendous tropical moisture here across the Gulf, Northwest Caribbean, into the southeastern part of the United States. And as we continue in time, ultimately, whatever's becoming of this system is towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and the Florida Keys. Our next system out here in tremendous tropical wave action, ready to come off the African coast. And there it is, last frame here. Let's just zoom in. There is our tropical system that we've been watching the whole time with the next system behind it. And look at this, just off the east coast here, we could be looking at another system, tail end of this frontal boundary trying to form. Got to watch all this moisture here across the north-central Gulf as well. And before we dive into the GFS model, don't forget, if you've made it this far and you love this video, you like it, smash that like button. It really does help everyone. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe bell notification button so you're alerted when I come out with any one of these future video updates. Let's continue. All right, so for our GFS model, there is that area that we're watching very closely, and the National Hurricane Center has outlined this, and it's showing up nicely here on the GFS. Let's just zoom out a bit. We also have a curious system here across the Northwest Gulf, going to provide plenty of moisture for Louisiana and Texas. We have another big tropical wave here coming off the Cape Verde area of the African coast. So as we continue in time, what does our GFS do with our system? Well, here it is. Wow. It looks like at this point, the GFS kind of completely lost it. And there's probably a lot to be said there. These model runs in particular today have really backed off on this system. It's not to say it's not going to be there. There's that system behind it as well as another big system. But here it is. We're still watching this tropical moisture off the southeast coast. This is through September 4th. So if I just back this up just a bit, our last couple frames that we saw our system was right around the 28th into the 29th. It looks like that is really crazy. So the GFS really backs off, and then the system behind it, the last couple frames here, these systems look very concerning at this point. So the GFS has backed its signal off a bit on our potential weekend into early next week system, and then ramps up these systems behind it, delaying this, so to speak. And these areas are looking pretty menacing here as well, from the eastern Gulf all the way off the southeast coast. So just because these model runs today have backed off on a major hurricane here across the eastern Caribbean, it does not mean that we're completely off the hook, especially as we head deeper into September here, beyond September 6th, where these models can go reliably. And heading over to the Western Caribbean here, I know you're going to be getting some rainfall as we head through Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, Hispaniola here, Puerto Rico. As we head this weekend, the GFS showing, this feature here towards September 1st, increased moisture coming up through the northwestern Caribbean. Look at the north central Gulf of Mexico as well. We're going to be watching a lot of tropical moisture here through the 3rd. Look at this, just funneling up through Central America, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, and the Bahamas here. And I don't know, I think there's going to be some sort of system trying to form in this region as well. So according to the GFS, we are far from off the hook here as we head through the 5th into the 6th. We have a very strong system here as well as the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And we've had our fair share of systems cross over the Yucatan, especially at the beginning of the season. And there's that area off the southeast coast. All right, so thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our sea surface temperature analysis here. Look at the Gulf, the Caribbean, the MDR warming up. Got a little bit of coolness here from some of this tropical wave action. But look at, we're even warming up out here where the big dust plumes were. Those are thinning out. And look at all this warm water bottled up across the North Atlantic. All right, so flipping over to our GFS here. For dry air analysis, you can see what is happening here. There's our massive tropical wave we're watching, as well as another one behind it. Look at the Gulf and the Northwest Caribbean just socked in here. And as we continue to go out in time here through the 30th, the 31st, GFS is kind of like, there's our system. It's kind of elongated across parts of the Eastern Caribbean through parts of the MDR here. But look at, there's that stronger wave action behind it. That heads to the north a little bit and then reconsolidates. So this is something we'll have to keep a close watch. That system behind it bears watching as well. And then look at, we have this system off the southeast coast that also trying to develop. So we have several areas that bear quite a bit of watching here. And then look at, as we head through September 10th, I know this is getting pretty far out. You can see another system moving through the northeastern Caribbean islands here. So things are really going to start to rocket upward here as far as activity. With our European run, here is our big tropical wave we're watching here that's showing up with the National Hurricane Center. Another big wave behind it. As we continue in time, you can see it's holding together pretty well there through this weekend. And then, of course, it looks like it becomes a little bit more elongated. It's a little bit harder to pick out here, but it's still here. There's that next system trying to initiate behind it as well. And as we continue to go in time, this system, there's going to be dual systems here. This system tries to strengthen around Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and then the system behind it here, look at this, another one just coming off of Africa. It's still over. This is September 5th, and look at this. Yeah, we could be looking at quite a bit of action here. Northwest Caribbean and the MDR out here. And look at this. There's that system trying to form off the East Coast. And for the Caribbean, what is our European model showing for your rainfall? Well, as we head through the next couple days, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, the Florida Keys, all the way over to the Bahamas, we're going to be racking up those rainfall totals. And as we head all through next week, look what's happening. Not only Central America is getting in on the act here, close to 100 millimeters. Look at Jamaica. Some of these areas could be approaching 100 millimeters here, up towards 3.5 to 4 inches. And even the Cayman Islands here, right around here, not looking too bad with the amount of rainfall, 70 to 100 millimeters. That'll get you up towards a solid 2.5 to 4 inches of rain. In the northern Bahamas, that's where you'll see upwards of 3 to as much as 4.5 inches of rain, 100, 125 millimeters. And heading to the eastern Caribbean here, there we go. Look at that. Our big tropical wave action as we head into early next week. Whatever happens with this system, I think we're going to have something. And that's where we're going to look at those totals of 60 to 125 millimeters, getting upwards of about 1.5 inches, all the way up through 4.5 inches of rain, all the way through the northeastern Caribbean islands here. That is what is showing up here with Jamaica. That is with a more southerly flow of our potential tropical storm. All right, so looking out into the western Pacific here, we have Typhoon Shanshan here. This is going to be a major problem for Japan. It looks like it's going to get pretty close to South Korea as well. Look at South Korea here. It is looking nice at the moment. And as we continue to go out here in time, Japan is going to be the bullseye of this system. As we head during the next day or two, this system coming right on shore, you can see the southern prefectures here of Japan. Kagoshima here. And this is getting really close to Nagasaki. And then here is South Korea over here. So here's Seoul up here. And yeah, it's looking pretty clear. It looks like they're going to dodge a bullet here. It's going to take a very hard right turn into the westerlies here. We got a jet stream, an associated frontal boundary, and a trough. And as we head into the 29th, look how it's starting to get bogged down here. So it's going to come up pretty close to Nagasaki here. Most of the storm surge, of course, is going to be on the east side of this, but look at the European model kind of bending it towards Nagasaki here. Going to become a major rain producer, flooding problems. I know Japan is getting wary of these typhoons because there's been so many of them. And then towards the 30th, it's going to head out towards Ehime here, and then it's going to accelerate here towards Osaka as we get into the 31st, into the first here. And look at it, kind of does a loop. Let me just back that up a second. There's the 31st. It comes back out over the ocean, tries to re-strengthen. It comes back into Osaka. Meanwhile, look at Korea, South Korea here over to eastern China. We do have a frontal boundary. It's kind of stalled out. It would be nice if we could get this to push Shanshan out here, but that's just not happening at the moment. And look at this. Finally, we're on the September 2nd. We move it further to the northeast here. Tokyo's starting to get in on the act here. And then a trough. There's that trough finally kicking in from the Asian continent here, bringing some really nice weather finally to portions of southern and central Japan as we get into the 4th and to the 5th. But wow, you're typhoon wary here in Japan. South Korea clearing out nice, as well as eastern China. Now, as we look, I hate to say this, but look what's happening behind it. Let's just back this up a little bit. Yeah, as we go out here in time, the Philippines continuing to be socked in with monsoon moisture here. In fact, some of these look like they start to become a little bit of a problem here as we head towards September 3rd. So that's something we're going to have to watch. And one in particular, here it is. It's trying to take shape. There's another one trying to take shape just south of Taiwan here. But this one in particular, here's Japan, unfortunately. Here we go again. This could be strengthening, and we might have dual systems out here, dual typhoons by the 6th of September. All right, so Hawaii has been getting some very close calls here. We had Hurricane Hone there come very close to Hawaii. We're also watching Gilma, and then behind Gilma we have Hector. So this is just lining up to be a very active period for the Hawaiian Islands. Thankfully, by the time Gilma gets to Hawaii, right around Thursday night into Friday morning, it's going to be a tropical depression. It's still going to bring gusty winds and heavy rain. So this is something you're not used to, getting this many tropical systems at once. And then our next system, Hector, whatever's left of Hector will move through about September 1st or 2nd. Then we start to build high pressure in But watch out, because as we go out in time, this intertropical convergence zone is getting pretty active southeast of the Hawaiian Islands. I'd keep an eye on this. All right. Many of you pointed out the Pacific earthquakes going on, particularly around Hawaii. There's been a couple of earthquakes occurring. It's so strange because it seems like these occur when we're having so much storminess. And here's a couple over here in Japan, some down into Indonesia, and of course up here in Alaska as well. One over here in California as well. So yeah, Hawaii, you've been dealing with that tropical activity. And of course, you've had, some earthquake upticks here. So keep an eye out here, 2.5. Yeah, this is pretty interesting. The Pacific Rim, of course, has earthquakes every day, but there's quite a few here around the outer perimeter. So for your Wednesday, I'm very concerned about severe weather here across parts of the Ohio Valley. Here it is: Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Harrisburg. There is going to be some sort of mesoscale convective complex that forms. And then for your Thursday, we turn to the Midwest here, parts of Iowa, southern Minnesota, as well as a marginal risk as well across Virginia and parts of North Carolina. All right, so our HRRR future radar, there's going to be a couple of trouble areas as we continue in time into the overnight hours. A lot of this severe weather, thankfully, has stayed well to the north here. So we eked out a pretty okay day across some of these areas. Now, as we head into 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning, you can see some of these areas, we're looking at some stronger thunderstorms developing. Eastern Michigan, parts of upstate New York, and then some more areas up towards Quebec, southern Quebec, and towards New Brunswick here. So let's go into the early morning hours. You can see we have several complexes of thunderstorms here, a couple clusters, one through the Cleveland area, Detroit, and then another one moving in on Pittsburgh here. Thankfully, these do weaken throughout the afternoon, but watch out. Wednesday may be our day here across parts of Indiana and Ohio. A very strong cluster of thunderstorms really begins to... Look at this. Yeah, we could have a major problem here. Toledo, this is towards 5 p.m. And then as we head towards 6 and 7 p.m., Cleveland down to Mansfield and Columbus and over to Youngstown. Some of these could be damaging wind, large hail, and I would not be surprised to have some tornado action out of some. Look at this. This is trying to form some sort of derecho here. And then there's Pittsburgh area around 9 p.m. Maybe up towards Erie, towards 10 p.m. And we do have some individual cells, stronger cells towards Williamsport there, central Pennsylvania. Another complex back towards Indiana here. So we'll have to watch both of these complexes. I am concerned. This is 9 p.m. And then as we go into the overnight, that just continues eastward. There's 11 p.m. and it sweeps across the whole state of Pennsylvania. Harrisburg is just after around, 1, 2 a.m. here towards Scranton. And then look at that towards Philadelphia towards 4 a.m. on Thursday morning. And then making it to the coast, look at that, right around New York City, around 5 or 6 a.m. Atlantic City, and it pushes off the coast. So this is going to be a long run potential for a derecho potential storm system there. Mesoscale convective system, it looks like. So as we head across the Gulf, as we head through 9 a.m. on Wednesday, there's those storms percolating here from the Texas Gulf Coast, Louisiana, over to Florida. It looks like the focal point for your Wednesday is across the western and central Gulf here. And then as we head towards, look at this, the 29th, Thursday afternoon, Louisiana and eastern Texas are the targets here. A little bit lighter here in Florida, so you're getting a little bit of a break. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off as we continue on into the rest of the day on Thursday into Friday. Yeah, you can see some shower and thunderstorm activity around this blocking high here across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. Our next system dropping southward here from Canada across the Midwest and the Great Plains here. That going to be moving east here for the 31st. So as we get into Saturday, unfortunately, I have to say, we're going to be getting into some inclement weather here from the Ohio Valley into the Northeast here as we continue. Saturday's going to be your worst day. And then look at that. That pushes off the coast. Thankfully, we eke out a pretty good late Labor Day weekend here. Unfortunately, look at the tropical moisture here across the southeast Gulf Coast area up through parts of the Carolinas as we head into the first here. And look at this. High pressure building in across the Ohio Valley and Northeast. That is some great news. Look at this surge of tropical moisture, though, from the southeast all the way over to the southern plains of Texas here. As we head into the third and fourth, look what's happening. These systems cannot move north or east because essentially we have all this tropical moisture bottled up to the south and it has no exit path here. So we'll have to continue to watch this for any tropical development here off the Gulf Coast area and off the southeast coast. It is not looking very good here. Look at this. We're just socked in with tremendous tropical moisture here from the Gulf Coast areas, inland Texas, all the inland Gulf Coast states as well. Florida, look at this, all the way up to North Carolina and Virginia, seeing some very heavy tropical downpours here, and this is just going to continue. We may be looking at a tropical system trying to develop off the North Carolina coast as we head through September 6th here. And look at this. This is going to get interesting because this high pressure is not letting the system exit. So total rainfall totals here. The Gulf Coast is going to be the big winner. This is just through this weekend. Labor Day weekend. Look what's going on. And then we take it through Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So look at this. A lot of this falling Saturday. Of course, there's going to be an initial shot across Ohio into Pennsylvania as we head on into Wednesday and Wednesday night, and another shot Saturday. So we're looking at probably a total of an inch or two in some of these big gully washers. And then look at this as we head through September 6th. Yeah, the southern plains all the way to the Carolinas, southward to Florida, the Gulf Coast. There's some areas here. The red areas, 2.5 to 4 inches of rain. But these yellow areas and orangish areas, we're looking at 4 to as much as 8 inches of rain. So your Canadian weather outlook here. Look what's going on here as we head into August 28th into the 29th. What's happening is this major low-pressure system, and then we have this massive high-pressure system across the eastern provinces of Canada. Nice weather versus a tremendous storm here. Wrapping up across Saskatchewan here, that's going to move up towards Manitoba as we head into the 30th, into the 31st. Watch out, because this is going to have a sharp cold front. Strong to severe thunderstorms up and down this cold front, so watch out for that. The high pressure is retreating over Nova Scotia here and New Brunswick. That's going to move southeast, and it's going to allow this frontal boundary to sweep a big, sharp cold front. Watch out for some potential strong thunderstorms here from southern Ontario and Quebec as we head on into the day. 31st, Saturday, into the 1st of September here, New Brunswick. Prince Edward Island over to Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes. That moves out of the picture. High pressure builds in. Look at that low moving up across parts of northern Quebec. And as we continue in time, high pressure is going to dominate much of the Canadian weather as we head into the first week of September until we get into about the 5th. Look at this massive storm. This almost looks more indicative of wintertime. Look at that heavy rain moving in to northern British Columbia here, and then we have a massive storm across Hudson Bay. That is going to drag a massive cold front on September 6th with tremendous severe weather potential as we head into Ontario, Canada. So Canadian rainfall amounts, mainly across the southern provinces here. And look at this. As we continue through the weekend into all through next week, you can see where our storm systems are, mainly across the east. Plenty of moisture. We're looking at an average of 35 to about 70 millimeters of rainfall here. So that'll take you up towards about a half, all the way up to 2.5 inches of rain. But look at northwestern British Columbia up here. This is where you could see 100 to as much as 150 millimeters with a massive storm bombing in the Gulf of Alaska. And before we continue, don't go anywhere. I got plenty more weather for you. Take a look at these awesome maps from my affiliate.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
And your high temperatures here, look at this. Wow, look at these mid to upper 90s and some areas close to 100. From the Mississippi River Valley, the Southern Plains, the Tennessee River Valley, all the way up to parts of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, even Washington, D.C. here, looking at about 100 degrees here. Look at these 90s. It is crazy. Those heat advisories, heed those. Take extra caution. Look at this. Massive heat boiling across interior parts of North America here. Some areas of Tennessee up to Indiana. Some of these areas could be approaching 100 or eclipsing 100. Look at this here into the Northeast, though, staying into the 70s into Friday. This is some great news, but look at Ohio just baking here, especially from central Ohio to eastern Kentucky, southwestward here. We're into the upper 90s. Into Saturday, look what starts to happen. Things start to cool off, though. We really start to push the heat, the axis of the heat southeastward here into Sunday, September 1st. Look at upper 60s here across parts of the upper Midwest. And look at this, 70s and even some 80s. It's looking a lot more comfortable as we head into Labor Day. Wow, look at this, lots of 70s. A extended forecast for our hometown viewers, Binghamton, Scranton, Susquehanna River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we head through Wednesday, we'll have a chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day. It's very low, though, 20%. Heading up towards the mid-80s into Thursday, we cool it down a bit into the 70s. Another chance of showers or a thunder shower. Into Friday, it's looking partly sunny. We'll have another chance. These are only 20% chances, though. Saturday's the worst day. It's all day, mostly rain, showers, and thunderstorms likely. Mid to high 70s. And look at that, clearing for Sunday as well as Labor Day Monday, but much cooler. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.